chores. And here's a question for you that's interesting. How do you get a little kid to do just about anything you want him to do? Without bribing. The answer? Model it with great excitement and joy. And this concept always reminds me of what I think is the very best dad that I've ever met. And this guy was not perfect when his kid was growing up, but he really understood the concept I'm going to dig into right here. The whole idea of modeling what you want your kids to do, doing it in front of them and doing it with great passion and joy. See, this dad, even though he wasn't perfect, he knew that issue. And when the little kid was just barely able to walk, this dad, you know what he'd make it a point to do? Holler and whoop it up in front of the kid. Whenever he was doing stuff like raking the yard or cleaning up leaves or dusting or stacking wood or whatever, what would it sound like? Oh, he'd look like this. Man, this is great. This is so much fun. Oh, man, look at all those leaves I got piled up there. Man, they were all over the place. Look at that. Oh, that's great. Oh, hey, how are you? Oh, man, one of these days you're going to be able to help me with this stuff, but not now. You're too little. Now, how do kids develop their primary attitudes about most things? By being lectured about them or by watching us really, really close? Oh, you know the answer to that, right? And does that apply to attitudes about, like, for example, reading? Yeah, so great parents are always reading in front of their kids and talking about how much fun it is. And how about work in general? The kids that have the biggest underachievement issues in America, a lot of times they're kids who have parents that have a big value of education. And the parents have a great job. In fact, their job's too good. They're busy all the time. They're worn out, and they get home. And here's a little kid sitting over here. And the parent walks in the door, and the spouse says, "How was work today?" "Oh, it's terrible. Those HMOs are eating me alive. I never have any more time to see patients." And what is the little kid thinking? Ooh. My daddy really had to get a good education to be that unhappy. Count me out. So what's a little hint for you? Every day that you get home, talk with excitement about your job and about what you learned. And the good news is it doesn't have to be everything you did well. See, great parents also come home and they talk with excitement, not directly to their kids so much as so the kid can overhear it. Have you ever noticed how big kids' ears get when they overhear things? Right? So you're talking to somebody else, your spouse, or you're talking to a friend. I remember my father came home one day and he's talking to my mom and he says, "Shirley, guess what I learned today?" And she said, "What, Jim?" He said, "I learned how much those gas nozzles cost. The ones that are on gas pumps?" And she says, "Jim, how do you know how much they cost?" "Oh, well, see, I had one in the car and I pulled out and I learned that a man runs out and screams at you and then he hits this big red button on the side of the building and then it costs $500. And I thought to myself, ooh, I'm never going to do that. I remember one time he came home too and he said, "Shirley, I learned all about those wireless microphones." And she said, "You did?" And he said, "Yeah, I learned that if you leave those on when you're in the bathroom, people can hear you going poop."